Hey y'all. Child, I am fighting a cold. I'm gonna say I'm nursing a cold, but I'm still gonna come through today because your boy Diddy, the Diddler, got hit with a couple new charges on his RICO. And we're gonna talk about it. So if you're in the replay, catch me in about 6 minutes. Fast forward this bad boy. If you are in the bushes in the chat, I appreciate your patience. And as always, I'm going to be right back. Hang tight. Peace, world, peace. Welcome or welcome back to Goddess Dawn Speaks. I am Goddess Dawn, the one and only baby, also known as the $1 trillion goddess. It is a mindset, a vibe, and a frequency. And they also call me the Queen of Info, honey. Get into it. Happy Friday, everybody. Yes, finally. It is Friday. Yay, honey. Listen. Today we're talking about Diddy getting struck by a superseding indictment. It's the third one. So we're going to get into the details of it. But before I do that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for your patience. And I'm just going to run through this chat and thank all my warriors, my chosen ones. Faye, early in here today. Yes, happy Friday, love. What'd you say? Diddler is guilty. He ain't ever getting out. Thank you so much for the tea. I haven't heard this till I saw the thumbnail. That's some hot tea. Yeah, it's been covered, but I'm here with it. I don't know that. I don't know who else has the actual indictment. I have it up here. Black letter law. Yes, I wonder if this will impact the trial date. I don't think so. The government has been adamant about the fact that they will not need more time, even though they know ahead of our knowing what is going to unfold here. So I don't know. I don't think it will, because we got a month now. As of tomorrow, it'll be a month until the trial starts. Well, until jury selection and all that good stuff. So. Love Queen, aka Beautiful Spirit. Hey, love. Like, share, subscribe. Yes, happy Friday. Definitely. Wow, Wayne in the building. Welcome back, Wow Wayne. I can't keep stressing enough how you were missed. And thank you for changing your thumbnail to Tupac. You got rid of the doggy dog. Yeah, we needed you to get rid of the dog. All right. I'm gonna throw up the Cash App. Thank you for that. You can bless the Warrior Fund if you choose, child. These documents ain't free. Let's see who else we got in here. Miss Sunshine to you. Hello. Hi. Good to see you. Chrissy Power. So good to see my day ones. How you doing, baby? Juti in the building, my favorite Canadian. Happy Friday. I hope you guys had a great week as we slide into the weekend, because it can only get better from here. All his 2024. Happy weekend, baby. Welcome back. Yes, loving this energy. Definitely excited about the weekend. I need my rest, child. I don't know how I got this cold. It just snuck up on me, but it has been very chilly out here in LA. I don't know. The sun is out, but the wind is cold. Okay. And I'm still wearing my little slides, no socks and whatnot, doing how I do, dressing how I dress like it's summer all year round. That's what we do here in LA, Let's see. Thank you, Love Queen. I'm definitely going to feel better. I already feel better as of today. So government said they didn't expect for the indictments to slow down. Exactly. And I don't think this will be the last of them. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to start off with an AP article before I get into the actual filings, just to kind of ease us into what we got going on. Now, I skimmed through the indictment, to be honest. You know me. I ain't going to go read through the whole thing before I come to you with it. We're going to read this thing together. I think it's like 17 pages. Let me see here. Yeah, so the AP says Sean Diddy Combs hit with new trafficking charges a month before trial. I know he's not happy about it. The reports are coming in that he is absolutely crying in his cot, okay, face down in his pillow. New York AP, federal prosecutors on Friday, today, added 2 charges to Sean Diddy Combs' indictment and said they expect 4 accusers to testify against him, expanding on allegations that he jailed hip-hop mogul engaged in trafficking with multiple women, and as recently as last year. A superseding indictment accuses Combs of using force, fraud, or coercion to compel a woman to engage in commercial S acts from at least 2021 to 2024. The indictment returned by a federal grand jury in Manhattan also alleges that Combs was involved in transporting women identified only as victim 2 and other people, including commercial S workers, to engage in prostitution during the same period. The new charges are in addition to racketeering conspiracy and S trafficking charges filed against Combs when he was arrested in September. They increased the total number of charges against him from 3 to 5. In a court filing, federal prosecutors said the racketeering conspiracy charge involves allegations that Combs S trafficked 3 victims and forced a 4th, one of his employees, into sex S activity with him. And of course, he's denying committing any crimes. He's going to face arraignment soon. They haven't given us a scheduled date yet. However, the prosecution suggested the arraignment to be the 25th of April, when I believe there's a hearing already set for that date. Now, we know he's scheduled to stand trial on May 5th. He remains locked up without bail. Now, his legal team made a statement. These are not new allegations or new accusers. These are the same individuals, former long-term girlfriends who were involved in relationships. This was their private S life, and by consent, not coercion. Okay, this is what they stand by. Let me change this music. And again, this is the 3rd superseding indictment against Combs, or the 3rd indictment. So this is the 3rd, the 3rd indictment filed. And we know the first indictment was filed the first superseding indictment was in January. So he got arrested in September, and he got superseded, I believe, in January, right? And then this is where they alleged Combs showed a firearm to a female victim during a kidnapping and once dangled a woman over an apartment balcony. And they said he forced to engage in commercial S acts. And the January indictment didn't include additional charges, but modified some details of existing ones, including adding 4 years to the alleged racketeering conspiracy. Prosecutors started in 2004, now 2008, as the original indictment had alleged. The indictment in March contained minimal changes. And of course, he pled not guilty to the first set of charges, which alleged that he coerced and abused women for years with help from a network of associates and employees while silencing victims through blackmail and violence, including kidnapping, arson, and physical beatings. His arraignment on the new charges has not been scheduled. Prosecutors asked Friday that it be held at his final pretrial conference, April 25th. In their filing on Friday, prosecutors said 3 of the 4 accusers are expected to testify, have asked their identities to not be revealed to the press or the public, and that they instead be referred to by at trial only using pseudonyms. Now, we saw this play out in R. Kelly's trial, so we know it can be done. Now, the accuser referred to as victim 1 in Combs' charging documents is prepared to testify under her own name. Wow. Prosecutors said in the filing, which was heavily redacted. And we know, I think we are all on the same page with victim 1 being Cassie Ventura, which is probably why she's going to testify under her own name, because we all know who she is, right? They say federal prosecutors allege that Diddy, as a music star, used his power as a music star to induce female victims into drugged up, elaborately produced sexual performances with male sex workers in events dubbed freak-offs. And with regard to that, there is a lot of the rugs mentioned in this indictment by name, so long names, I can never be able to pronounce these names. But let's see if there's anything else. Central to the case is a March 2016 video showing Combs hitting and kicking his then girlfriend, R&B singer Cassie, in a Los Angeles hotel hallway. Now, that video, I believe the judge is still looking at the motion to suppress that, because remember, the defense came in saying that it had been altered, the timestamps and the sequence, and it had been slowed down, they said, remember, and they asked that the judge basically suppress this video or throw it out, as well as they asked to suppress all of the things that were confiscated in the raids. As far as I know, the judge has not come back yet with decisions on those things. I doubt very highly the judge is going to agree to those things, but you never know. Combs' lawyer contend the case should never have been brought and are fighting to dismiss a charge involving allegations he transported a male escort across state lines. They basically say the government has concocted a criminal case based primarily on allegations that Mr. Combs and his two longtime girlfriends sometimes brought a third party, a male escort, into their relationship. Each of the three charges in the case are premised on the theory that this type of sexual activity is a federal crime. Yeah, so they basically are trying to say the government, they're just stuffy and buttoned up, and they're charging him with things just because they're freaky, because he's a freak. No, it has to do with the fact that these people were drugged and threatened, and their careers were on the line. Either first, I'm gonna elevate your career, and then if you don't do this or that, you ain't gonna have no career. Which one is gonna be? And it's also being sprayed and doused down with baby oil that is now seemingly they're letting us know that this stuff was actually drugs, incapacitating these people. And there's been plenty of stories. Remember Mark Curry, his ex-producer? He came in an interview before, I think it was even before he was indicted, that he was arrested. Mark Curry said he was at the parties and he remembered being told, don't drink those drinks. Those are for the women. And he's like, oh, yeah. I know. We know what's up. We know what's up. And that those women, after they were drinking these drinks, they would come back like little birds, opening their little mouths up. Chirp, chirp. Give me another shot. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know you're being drugged with certain types of drugs that are going to make you want and do certain things, then there's no consent there, right? So Miss Sunshine said Diddy's a monster. I will agree. Juti said we will be 75. We'll still be dropping, right? Yes, I agree with that too. This thing can go on and on and on. All right, I'm going to move over to Pacer. Now, before I get into the actual indictment, this letter was filed today by the government to the judge. And I think it's just kind of a summary of the superseding indictment. They call it S3, the S3 indictment. So they say, Dear Judge Subramanian, the government respectfully submits this letter regarding the S3 indictment returned yesterday in the above referenced case by a grand jury sitting in this district. The S3 indictment contains 3 substantive changes to the charged offenses. First, count 4 charges an additional substantive count as trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion with respect to victim 2. Now, victim 2, I think people are speculating. They're saying 2 ex-girlfriends. People are saying Young Miami could be that girl. I don't know. There's also a lady named Gina Hun. I think that's or Gina Wynn, who she's been very public about Diddy's abuse. She was even on Tasha K prior to his arrest, and detailing all the things he had done, abusing her, even kicking her in her stomach when I think she was carrying a child. And she could be victim 2. It says second count 1 has been amended to include a second special sentencing factor related to the new S trafficking offense charged in count 4. Third, the S3 indictment charges the Mann Act in 2 separate counts, in counts 3 and 5, covering conduct for victim 1 and victim 2 respectively. And the S2 indictment previously charged this conduct as a single Mann Act offense. In addition, the language of count 1 contains 2 non-substantive changes clarifying that the defendant kidnapped and carried and displayed a firearm to a female victim, and that the defendant dangled a female victim over an apartment balcony. And we remember her being Cassie's makeup artist, who was hanging out with Cassie, right, at the, I think it was in a hotel suite. And he came charging in looking for Cassie because she had gone out. I think they had gone out and he was pissed. He took Cassie into the bedroom and was effing her up, child. And the makeup artist said she started gathering Cassie's stuff and her stuff so they could bail up out of there. Next thing she knew, Diddy came in there and basically accosted her and dangled her over the balcony, threatening her life. I mean, what is it with these men in these balconies? Now, they say the government has already produced all Rule 16 discovery and Jinx Act materials in its possession associated with the S3 indictment. So the defense has all the discovery with regard to this new superseding indictment. So they can't go crying to the judge that they don't have this and they don't have that. The government respectfully requests that the defendant be arraigned on the S3 indictment at the final pretrial conference scheduled for April 25th, 2025. Yep, and this is signed by Matthew Podolsky, who's the acting U.S. State's Attorney, CC'd all the other state's attorney reps involved in this case. It is official. All right, let me do this real quick while I pull up the indictment. Who has plans for this weekend? I know I'm just going to be focused on my health, but anybody doing anything exciting? Put it in the chat. Give me some inspiration. All right. So here we have the superseding indictment filed yesterday, April 3rd. It's 17 pages. Now, I doubt that I'm going to read every 17 page, all 17 pages, because a lot of this legalese is above my pay grade and above my legal expertise. And so we'll just get to the nuts and bolts here. Let's do the overview. Count 1. The grand jury charges. I think this is just the overview of the entire situation. I don't know that I need to read this, actually. Let me see how long it is. Yeah, it's so, okay. So this is count 1, the racketeering conspiracy. The grand jury charges that for decades, Sean Combs and all his AKAs, who is the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, as trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. And I'm emphasizing these things because there's still so many people, not that they're ever going to find my little channel to get the real information. However, there's people, especially on Instagram and comments, that feel like, you know, there's nothing here. There's nothing to see here. All he did was have some freaky parties and be a black man who happens to be a billionaire, who they want to, you know, who they want to oppress. That's really, you know, a lot of people's mindsets with regard to this situation. And it's just definitely not the case. I mean, he engaged in, it's not just him either. And that's why it's a RICO. creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Okay. And I don't think that even includes the unalivings, because I think somewhere in here it's about kill orders. So that's what I'm trying to get to here. Okay, what else are they saying? They say Sean Combs and all his AKAs, the defendant, operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Combs Global, the Combs business. Corporate entities in the Combs business included, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. And these things are important too because, you know, I've read, which is at the end of the indictments, the order of what is it called again? I'm gonna have to scroll down to look because I forgot what it's called. It's called forfeiture of assets. Forfeiture allegations. So all of these things, if relevant to the crimes, if convicted, are subject to forfeiture to the government. So the government basically is going to be snatching up all of this stuff, all his properties, businesses, money, all the money side, property, all the stuff. Okay. What else are they saying? At all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs and all his AKs, the defendant, engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As a part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in orchestrated performances of sexual activity with Combs and at times with Combs and male commercial sex workers. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs' locations. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same and using intimidation and violence. Okay, these things are not legal. I think there's people who think, well, that's just the way it goes. It's the entertainment company. It's the entertainment business. Oh, but the boo-boo, this stuff is illegal. Okay, entertainment industry or not. Number 4, physical abuse. Okay. On numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009. Sorry, I got an email distracted me. And continuing for years, Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. And mind you, all of that is in the video. There is video evidence of all of this against Cassie. Combs' violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others, which was the makeup artist. She witnessed abuse, and he then tried to throw her over the balcony in a threatening manner to say, if you say something, it's over for you and whoever you love. Okay. They say that one occasion at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 16th, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, I didn't know a member of the hotel staff intervened. Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Okay, so that's how that went. I didn't know the staff tried to intervene. It says subsequently, Combs, with the assistance of several close associates, paid hotel security staff $100,000 for the hotel's surveillance footage of the assault. See, I thought it was $50,000, but now it's $100,000. You know why we have that number? Probably because the person is actually going to be testifying. Yeah, I bet you they have the person in their grasp. Child. Number 5, Combs. What else did he do? What else did he allegedly do? He used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his acts, abuse, and commercial sex. Those employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates, acted as Combs' intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. This is important because it's a RICO, right? And they had already said that there's other people involved who helped him and this and that. Well, these are the people. They're not naming names yet, because if they name the names, these people, either they're going to be in jeopardy by unaliving harm done to them, or in jeopardy, intimidated to the point where they don't testify. It's been in many cases, and I don't know if you guys are up on that Big U indictment, but he's an example of someone who will intimidate a person to the point of getting them not to testify, and therefore charges go away, right? So they're not going to name names just yet. They're going to keep that close to the vest as much as they can, which is why they had to file a motion to the judge, I think yesterday or today, to ask that these people stay anonymous, not just the victims, but also the co-conspirators. Anonymous to the public, that is. Now, eventually, the defense is going to know who these people are, of course. I think they already know. Diddy's not supposed to know, though. It's the lawyers who, it was supposed to be for the lawyers' eyes only when they got that enterprise letter and the names of who these people are. Diddy's not supposed to know. Now, if these people end up getting threatened and things happen, then the lawyers then would be, accountable for leaking that information, and they should be disbarred for that. So they go on to talk about the Combs enterprise, and the enterprise is the people, I think. Let's see. Yeah. So from at least 2004 to 2024, members and associates of the Combs enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So this is saying, this is the enterprise. These are the people in the RICO that aren't named yet, but these people who they said earlier on in here, the security people, the house, all the staff, all the people, the KKs and the whoever's. I think Roger Bonds is probably testifying. I wouldn't be surprised if Gene Deal was in on this, testifying, working with the feds. There's people. Remember that guy? What was his name? Big John, I think his name was, and he was crying, saying, "Oh, I wasn't even working for Diddy when she said it happened." I bet you he's probably working with the feds too, because I even found somebody had interviewed after. That was the Gloria Allred client who came out, and she showed her face and everything in the press conference and said they R-worded her in the bad boy offices, coerced her to come into that office because her boyfriend, who was working as an executive there or working on the staff, he wanted to elevate in the company, and Diddy coerced her to come in and talk about this and whatever. And him and the Big John, or she says it was Big John, him and a security guy were said to have R-worded her, took turns and did the whole thing on her. And her boyfriend ended up leaving her. Like it didn't work out the way Diddy proposed it was going to work out. She came out in a press conference with Gloria Allred, showed her face and everything. She cried. She said, "They did this to me." Now, anybody who does that, I don't think is going to be lying. Like, come on. But there were text messages that were supposedly revealed to make it look like she was looking for help in the story. Like she had reached out to somebody, maybe the security guard himself, to say, can you help me? Can you testify for me, or whatever? And they made it seem like she was out here reaching and grabbing for straws and trying to get people to help her with this concocted story. And then this guy comes out crying because she named him. Oh, it wasn't me. Well, there was a rapper, a female rapper, who interviewed on MREC. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the MREC YouTuber, MREC TV, I think. He interviewed this girl, and she was just very casually speaking about her experience, and it was more so about Jim Jones, the rapper, how he did her dirty. And basically but Big John was a main key player in her demise. Well, not demise, but in what happened to her. So basically, this girl was a hot rapper. I think she lived in Atlanta. She was young. I think if she wasn't in high school, she just got out of high school. She was very known in her, regionally or whatever. And Big John supposedly was the one to first get to her. I guess someone either referred her to him or he found her, and he's the one who introduced her to Jim Jones. I think he introduced her to Diddy. And mind you, this was like, she said it was in like 2005, whatever the year was that it happened, was after the thing happened with the girl at Bad Boys, the whole R wording thing. And he said, I wasn't even working for Diddy then. Well, this girl said, you introduced me to Diddy and tried to get me a deal with him. This was after that. So clearly you may not have been working with him as a security guy, but you still had ties to this guy. And the horrible thing that ended up happening with her is she had all these prospects because she was so talented, and all these guys were interested in, Jim Jones was interested in all these things. And I think they did work with her, but she never got what she was promised, as what is usually the norm, what we're hearing. This guy, Big John, convinced this girl. She was very much a good girl, I'll just say. I think she was a senior in high school. She was living with her parents. She said that her parents were important to her. They advised her. She listened to them, except when she came to them and said, this guy wants me to move to New York. He said I could stay with him till I get on my feet. They were like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You need to just go ahead and go to college like you're supposed to be doing, and you could do all that after the fact. And she didn't want to wait. She didn't end up moving in with him, thank God. And that's the thing. How you want this little girl to move in with you? She had an uncle who actually lived in New York as well. She said it was like a 2-hour train ride to back and forth to the studio and to school. She ended up going to school out there. But Big John, when he promised, we're going to help you. We're going to take care of you, make sure you in school and all this. Well, guess what? He said, when it came down to it, I don't have no money to pay for you to go to school. I don't have no money for this. I don't have no money for that. And she had already, made this commitment. So she ended up moving to New York. I think she ended up at a community college. She lived with her aunt and uncle, but she was committed to doing her music. So she was taking train rides back and forth to the studio, doing everything she could. I think Jim Jones made promises too. She said she was barely getting paid anything. It was just a horrible situation. And it sounded to me like they were going to be taking advantage of this girl. If her parents would have, if she wasn't so, I guess, dedicated to her parents and listening to her parents, and they didn't have the aunt and uncle there to help, she would have ended up probably moving in with this guy, probably at some point getting assaulted more than once, probably. Who knows what would have happened to her? She might not even be alive. I mean, it was just a horrible situation. You said Mark Curry. I'm not sure. I'm just now coming over to the chat to see what y'all are doing here. Crazy motherfucker. Love Queen. Oh, right. You cried about the story of the stylist. I'm not sure which story you're talking about, Love Queen. Stylist. You're celebrating a promotion? Hey now. I love, oh, this is what you guys are doing on the weekend. Congratulations, Juti. Yes. Nice. Love a promotion announcement. Good job. I'm sure it's well deserved. Spending time with family. Yes. That's always a good thing. Been nominated as the new coach for the employees in my area. Nice. Okay. I love that. So we got smart people over here. Smart people only. Love Queen said, I see they have mentioned Arsenal again. Yeah, arson is there because of Kid Cudi, right? Laws are for everyone. Absolutely. Diddy went out of his way to destroy himself. He did. Mark Curry. Yeah, Mark Curry. Yeah, I have mentioned him earlier. I'm not sure if that's where you're at. You're welcome. Mark Curry was the one who was at that party. He wrote a book too about Diddy. I have the book somewhere, Dancing with the Devil. I did read the book. It was pretty interesting. This was way before any of this. This was a couple years ago. Sorry I'm here, but I have a cold too. Hope you feel better. Oh, hey, Faye Faye. Yes. What are you sorry about, girl? Chill, relax. Chill out with us and feel better as well. Sorry to hear you have a cold. I haven't had a cold in so long. I have typically been able to thwart off any cold coming on because I know what happens with my body. So I'm like, oh, got to do this, got to do that, and then it's gone, right? This one, see, I'm going to blame my mom. I was at my mom's house and she's sneezing. I'm upstairs. I'm like, is she sick? So I'm like, are you sick? No, it's just the pollen in the air. But she's saying this and her, she sounds stuffy. I'm like, okay. And she actually she made me breakfast. I shouldn't have ate it. And something told me she's sick. She still denies it. I told her I'm sick. And I said, it's not no pollen. I don't have allergy issues. I never have. And she said, well, I don't know, because mine was allergies. I don't know why you sick. Like, come on now. She got me sick, but it's okay. I was talking about the stylist who had started gathering her. Oh, that was a makeup artist. I thought she was a makeup artist. But nevertheless, yes, it was very sad. Very sad situation. Yes. Appreciate you too, babes. Appreciate y'all. Okay, let's get back to this indictment now. Because I was listening to somebody else earlier, another YouTuber who came on with a little summary of this to say, and they mentioned bloggers that also could be co-conspirators in this situation who were paid to spin stories. And they weren't named, I guess, because the person, see, this is the thing. Some of these YouTubers, they come on, they have their clickbait titles and their clickbait introductions. And this person came on all hyped. Oh my God, sit down. I got some tea for y'all. Oh my God. Can you even believe the government is naming names? The government is naming names now of the co-conspirators. They're even naming the blogs. There's the blogs that are involved getting paid. They got paid to spin stories for Diddy. And it turns out in the middle of the whole thing, well, they aren't actually naming names yet, but the names are coming. It's like, you wasted my time, child. There's no names. The lawyers have the names. I'm pretty sure the lawyers have the names, but they're not naming names just yet. The trial doesn't start until next month, okay? Even during the jury selection process, we're not going to get details on the names and things. That happens during the trial. That's the whole point of the trial. That's why people kill me in comments and things. I ain't seen no proof. There ain't no proof. Where's the evidence? The evidence is going to be revealed in the trial. You are a public person. You are not a lawyer in this case. Not going to be, or you're not. If, once the jury is selected, you're probably not going to be on the jury. And these are the only people and the judge who are going to be privy to that information until the trial. I mean, while the trial is happening, that's when we're going to get that information. It's going to come out. And some stuff we may not even still, as the public, be privy to. I remember the R. Kelly trials. Some stuff was like audio that only the people in the court could hear, or audio that only the jury could hear, or things like that. It was like certain things that only the jury could see, because it's so disgusting and just, you know, unbelievable, honestly. But they're not going to just be telling us months ahead of the trial all the stuff so that the defense can use that information to get rid of it. Like, are you dumb? Are you dumb? Okay. So again, now we're on the part of the enterprise. And I was just getting into all these things because we're talking about the members and associates of the enterprise. You know, these are people who, again, the people in the chats and comments who don't know shit, don't know squat, want to sit up there and act like, oh, it's a one-man RICO. Well, guess what? R. Kelly was a one-man RICO too. I keep bringing up R. Kelly because I was so entrenched in those trials and all up in the paperwork and, you know, covering, just like how I'm covering this. I think I was more intense with R. Kelly, but that man got convicted twice, okay? And he lost both appeals. He's got a 31-year sentence that he's serving. And, you know, he did have co-conspirators who were separately tried and convicted in separate cases. They weren't within his RICO, but they were related. And, you know, this is what the government does. I mean, you don't like it, then you need to get into the business of law and get into lawmaking and whatever else it takes to make changes to this stuff. But as it stands, this is what it is. And if you don't like it, just stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. Stay away from people who are doing stuff like this. And stop idolizing these people too. I feel like these people get put on a pedestal. It's like, oh, he's a billionaire. This is what they do to our black men. No. And stop putting our black men down by putting them in these categories. These are not our good black men. Okay. And just because you got money, that actually is not really saying nothing good about you, because they know it's typically, not always, but typically that you making all this money because you ruthless and you doing stuff that most people can or won't do, because it takes a lot of bravado, a lot of gut and grit to do what it takes to make it to a certain level in commerce. So it's not always a good thing to say, oh, this person's got all this money, because, you know, you got probably a lot of bodies up underneath you and things that you've done. And the money is necessary because you got to cover it all up. You got to buy the judges. You got to buy the prosecutors. You know, it's just a lot, Jay-Z. Just saying. Let's see. Love Queen said, I feel content creators shouldn't clickbait with real cases like this. Exactly. Juti said, exactly. There's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, listen, I have hopes and dreams, you know, trillionaire goddess and all that. But, you know, I think that as things are, my hopes and dreams of how I'm going to do things, which I'm keeping close to my best, have nothing to do with tearing people down or forcing people to do things and unaliving people. I mean, that's the old way. We're in a new era, okay? Era of truth and light. It's the age of Aquarius, honey. Okay. And this is where the good people, the good things, the righteous are supposed to rise up, child. All that old mafia way of stuff is over. That's why we're seeing all this stuff happening. All these people getting exposed, and not just exposed, but getting buried. Okay. Like there was a day where a Diddy, something like this would happen and we would find out and he would just get away with it. he would be out right now, living his best life, taunting us on social media, on his Instagram, going live, having twerkathons and things with his sons in the background. Like, those days are over. Those days are over, honey. So I'm going to get back over to this thing. So let's see. See what else they're talking about. Group. So they were describing, this enterprise, a group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. So they're saying that they're not a legal group of people, but there were people who are associated. The enterprise consisted of Sean Combs, entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to all the businesses that they named, individuals employed by and associated with the Combs business, others known and unknown. And I think this too is kind of a calling out to those who are not cooperating yet, because if you're not cooperating and you are one of these people, then you are a co-conspirator. And I've heard people, like, I was listening to, why I was listening to this, I don't know, but it was Vlad. He was interviewing, who was he interviewing? Reggie Wright Jr. Something that had came up and got my attention. Vlad basically was like, yeah, the government, they reached out to me. They tried to get information stuff from me. I just ignore it. I'm not paying attention. I can't go to jail. I didn't do anything. And the guy, Reggie Wright Jr. was like, well, that's not going to be the end of it, right? And he should know, because he's had house raids because of Biggie and all that. They will go to the lengths they need to go to get what they need to get. You can ignore them all you want to. Okay? But this is the federal government we're talking about, not your next door neighbor who is trying to sue you for crossing their property line, trying to put up a fence. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just ignore the federal government. Okay. What else? So they're saying that Combs is the leader of the enterprise. He's the head, the octopus head here. And they're basically talking about all these people, including Diddy, participated in unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of the enterprise affairs. And these individuals included certain Combs business employees, such as members of Combs security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, as well as close associates. And that means friends, colleagues, other entertainers, celebrities, his kids. Close associates is anybody and everybody. Anybody and everybody can get this work, okay? Now, purpose of enterprise. So basically, they're just saying that the purpose of the enterprise was operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels, recording studio, apparel line. They're repeating. We already read this. They're repeating some of the things. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power, reputation, and brand of Sean Combs. Enriching members and associates of the enterprise, including its leader, Combs, and in particular those who demonstrated loyalty to Combs and willingness to conceal his crimes. I don't know. It's people shaking in their boots right now. I wonder how many people left the country already. Because that's the only thing you could probably get away is by leaving to an what are the countries called? The one that you can't extradite, a non-extraditable country. Let's see. Yeah, so they're saying these people protected him and preserved and promoted this man through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Now, that arson situation with Kid Cudi, and he admitted this happened out of his own mouth already. Okay. They blew up his car, was in the driveway of his house. And he got mad because he found out Cassie was seeing this man, I guess when they were off, when they were off and on. I guess it was during their off period. And he found out it was Kid Cudi. I don't know if it was even Kid Cudi. It might have been somebody else that Kid Cudi was just a friend of. But nevertheless, they blew this man's car up. I think they said they threw something in the sunroof. I'm not sure, but I know the car was on fire, child. Same thing that happened in the R. Kelly case. They did the same thing to the witness family house, shot up the house, burned the house. The cars was on fire. That man served time, or he's still in prison, actually. I think he got 8 years. But, and you know what's funny thinking about that? That particular guy, I can't think of his name, Michael something. He was the cousin of a girl, Cash Jones. This girl was all involved in this stuff, like all entangled. She wrote a book under a pseudonym, but then she was also involved with one of the parents, the victim's parents. She got involved with these YouTubers. She was kind of all over the place. And it just reminds me of this thing with Diddy and how we've seen some people say, they were there and they know him and this and that. And they're all over the place and all in the mix of things. But then when it gets hot on them, they're denying, oh, no, that wasn't me. I didn't do that and this and that. But then this girl's cousin was the one who ended up going to jail, prison for blowing up or setting fire to these people's house. And on top of that, I think he was also named in one of the charges where they threatened another victim. They met up with her at a restaurant, her and her mother. And I'm not sure if the GUN was visible, but they threatened these people. And he was there too for that. But she wasn't involved. 4-4 today as well. Moving to Pisces. Oh yeah, Pisces season, baby. Silence is compliance. That's too smart for some people, Faye. Being quiet. Some people can't do it. You see what happened again. I'm gonna bring up Big U and the Rolling 60s. They all on the No Jumper podcast telling all these stories. And I think they got confused when they see these like OG mafia guys, OG, even in hip hop, the OGs who are no longer in the game. And, they get on these podcasts and we're very invested in interested in their stories, right? We know these people, have heard of these people, and they have very colorful stories. So, they're going on these podcasts and they're getting paid to tell these stories and have been very successful in doing so. And I think these younger people who are literally still active gang members got confused and said, I could do that too. And they said, I'm going to go on a podcast and tell some stories. But their stories are like current stories, things that recently happened, things that are still being investigated, like things that maybe weren't even on the Fed radar until they opened their mouth. And now the feds got them locked up because you opened your mouth. Could have been prevented. So they go through all these things that the enterprise was responsible for: fulfilling his personal desires, enabling him and others to engage in unlawful acts of violence, including sexual violence, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution, coercion, enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics distribution. See, they got the drugs in there. And I think that's another thing people are overlooking when they say there's no evidence. What do you think those 1,000 bottles of baby oil was all about? You thought they just thought it was cute and funny to name baby oil as pieces of evidence? No, it wasn't for the fact that it was lubricant. It was for the fact that this was a disabling drug or drugs mixed into this oil. We've heard so many stories of these civil complaints, people being sprayed, rubbed down, all kinds of stuff with this baby oil. It was all over the floor. Remember the guy? I don't know if you guys, well, I think I talked about it here, but the documentary where the assistant who is working with the feds, child. Okay, he's not trying to be a co-conspirator. It's either pick one, co-conspirator or working with the feds, or you're going to testify. Which one is it? So he's working with the feds. He was in that documentary, The Fall of Diddy, one of those documentaries, and he said he had to clean up after the freak offs. He said that baby oil was so much of it. You could slip and fall on that. It was all over the floor, all in the tubs. It was everywhere. I don't know how he cleaned that up. I'm pretty sure he had somebody coming to, he probably had to organize the cleanup. I can't imagine that he was on his hands and knees wiping up baby oil. And on top of that, being subjected to it, you probably had to wear a whole hazmat suit in order to go in there and clean up. Goggles, the whole nine, head to toe, gloves and everything. But yeah, the baby oil was part of the drugs, child. Okay. They also had to secure absolute loyalty from members of the Combs enterprise, including through acts of violence and threats, and protecting the Combs enterprise and its members and associates, including Combs, from detection and prosecution by law enforcement authorities through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, and threats of retaliation against individuals who witnessed the crimes committed by members and associates of the enterprise. Now, another thing I'm wondering too, because I don't think this came up, it might have come up, but I'm trying to think, were there police officers who testified? But I'm pretty sure, like in the R. Kelly cases, there were police officers complicit in these crimes. Now that I haven't seen yet come up. See, right here, they're saying that these people helped him from detection and prosecution from law enforcement. But what about the law enforcement who were involved, who took the bribes? I think there was a cop. I remember there was a cop who was on the stand for taking bribes and stuff. I do, in the R. Kelly case. I do remember that. He was at like one of the apartments when there was underage girls there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if, see, that's the thing. See, the feds being law enforcement, typically law enforcement protects law enforcement. They don't want to expose their own agencies and things to show the public, yeah, we get down like that. But they really should. They really should, to be transparent and to show that they're actually doing everything the right way. They should really put everybody on blast. Police officer, federal officer, whoever, as individuals, not as a part of not as the agency itself, but as a crooked individual. That's why I think the Biggie case never got solved, because I believe there were complicit police officers involved. They got a civil win on that. I think she settled, the mom, but they weren't able to criminally charge anybody. Same with Tupac. Now they got this guy on the hook, Keefe D, but I think it goes deeper than that. And that's why Reggie Wright Jr., your number is up, dude. Yeah, I'll be watching him. He goes live every day, this guy. He was a ex-cop. His daddy was a cop, Compton Police. He ended up retiring and then started working for Suge Knight as head of his security. And this guy is dirty as they come. And he's on there trying to spin his narratives every day. And the thing is, the Tupac trial got delayed for a year because the defense said they have new evidence. And Keefe D mentioned this guy and said that he was a part of it. Also Diddy as well. So we're going to see what happens with that. Sorry, I'm getting all off track. I'm a little bit medicated. Not sure if that's why I'm rambling, but I'm drinking water and cranberry juice as well. I'm not drinking. I'm not a big drinker, actually. And like I told y'all, I done stopped smoking. It's been, I don't even know how long. I can't even count the months. Could be 6 months. So I'm totally sober, but I've been on the Dayquil and the Tylenol. I've been had a headache too. Anyway, means and methods. Let me skip down to, I'm going to find the drug stuff because this is the freak off stuff. So they're talking about commercial sex acts, commercial sex workers, freak offs, elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, and masturbated during, and often electronically recorded, which I'm pretty sure they have plenty of that. I wonder if the jury is going to have to watch the freak offs. That's crazy. After freak offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from physical exertion and drug use. Remember him and his mama was getting the IV fluids together? That's when they gave each other that little Ooh, child. Janice Combs, come to the front of the class, honey. Let's see what else. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms. So if you booked hotel rooms for this, you are in trouble, honey. Stocking the hotel rooms in advance with the required freak-off supplies. And see, that's the guy who was in the documentary. This was a part of his job. He even showed text messages from KK telling him what drugs Diddy needed and what to do. And you know she's working with them because she just made that a little announcement a couple weeks ago. How she wasn't involved. I didn't do none of that stuff. Girl, shut up. You did it, and you're working with the feds and trying to clean up your act for your family so you don't make them look bad. Okay, so they said that the freak-off supplies included some controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after the freak-offs to try to mitigate room damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial sex workers, and Combs to and from freak-offs, resupplying Combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of the IV fluids. On or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residences in Miami, Florida, and Los Angeles, California, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Let's see. Other commercial acts involved only Combs and a female victim. As with freak-offs, other members and associates of the Combs enterprise assisted with arrangements for these commercial sex acts, including by arranging travel and accommodations for victims. Yeah. And also, at times, with the assistance of other members, transported and caused to be transported victims across state lines and internationally in connection with the commercial sex acts. So this is all about the freak-offs. We already know about that. Let's see. During and separate from freak-offs and other commercial sex acts, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, and threw objects at drag victims, at times by the hair. I think that's the video they're referring to. Okay. Let me go down. Okay, we got phone calls here. Let me see. Wow, acts of violence. So here they talk about how he maintained control over certain employees. He forced to work long hours with little sleep through the use of, among other things, physical force, psychological harm, financial harm, and reputational harm, and or threats of the same. And In doing so, Combs, assisted by members and associates of the enterprise, caused these employees to believe they would be harmed, including losing their jobs, if they did not comply with his demands. With respect to one employee, Combs used physical force, psychological harm, and financial harm, and reputational harm, and or threats of the same to cause employee to engage in sex acts with Combs. I wonder if that's Kalima. Is that her name? Kalima from Dirty Money? Remember when she made that weird video saying that Don Richard was lying on her? But then she turned around and talked to the feds and admitted that he had called her a billion times and threatened her and all these things. Let's see. When employees, witnesses to his abuse, or others threaten Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of enterprise engaged in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse. These acts included arson and multiple acts of kidnapping, multiple acts of kidnapping, including one instance of kidnapping during which Combs carried and displayed a firearm to a female victim. In addition, or on multiple occasions, Combs threw both objects and people. He threw both objects and people, as well as hit, dragged, choked, and shoved others. He threw people? On one occasion, Combs dangled a female victim over an apartment balcony. Oh, yeah. Combs was doing too much. Let's see what y'all saying over here. Reggie Wright is a Humpty Dumpty. Oh my God. I commented on that Vlad video because they had the camera angle right up under his bulge. I'm like, dude, this camera angle is diabolical. Oh, wait, let me come up. Officer Hood. Yes, Love Queen. Yeah, you remember. Okay, let me come up on these comments. I remember that Raggedy Cash Jones. Yes. Imagine that amount of dish soap needed. Or industrial grade degreaser. Exactly, for the baby oil. A lot of puffer fish camp was singing like Betty Wright. Tonight is the night I write my testimony. Tonight is the night. Oh my God. That image killed me, Kim. Oh my God. Yes, Officer Hood got arrested in R. Kelly. Yeah, Officer Hood. You got a good memory. They snatched Officer Hood right after he got off the witness stand. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay. I was about to say. They don't want me to be great, y'all. They don't want me to be great. How can we forget that IV drip nightmare? You guys make me laugh. I was be the umbrella guy. Oh, what's his name? We talked about him here too. The umbrella carrier. Y'all know his name. I can't think of his name right now. I'm sure he is talking. I absolutely am sure too. He has been so quiet, and people have been like condemning him for his silence. But I think he's been the smartest one of all, honestly. You know what else too? This brings to mind Stevie J. Stevie J from Love and Hip Hop. Now, Stevie J, you know, he's been defending early on. He was defending Diddy, right? I went to his Instagram recently. He deleted almost everything. And as well, oh, Bentley. Oh, yeah. Bentley. It is something Bentley. Okay, we're almost there. So, Stevie J, there was a girl. Okay, so let me get my thoughts together. Okay, so there's a guy. He's on Love and Hip Hop. He also has a YouTube channel. He goes by Chaotic. I don't know if you guys watch Love and Hip Hop. Love and Hip Hop, I think LA, Hollywood. He goes by Chaotic. So he has a YouTube channel, and I don't know how I came across. I think I saw a clip of this interview, and I went and found the whole thing because her interview, this woman, had to do with the fact that she was living with Stevie J in Diddy's mansion and how Diddy basically tried to get into the room. So I found the interview. So she said basically that she was living with Stevie J. She said for a good 8 months she was living in this mansion, and she described it as, amazing. She didn't come across Diddy a whole lot, only in like party scenes, party scenarios. She didn't say anything about like any freak off stuff at all, but she said that, she had 24/7 access to the chef. The food was amazing. She basically stayed up in, I guess it's a suite, not just a room. I'm pretty sure it's like a suite. He probably had a bedroom, a living room area, a bathroom, maybe even a balcony, but she lived in there with him. I think she even got pregnant. I don't want to, I don't know what YouTube allows. Bentley Farnsworth. Thank you, Love Queen. Good job. You guys are amazing. Yeah, he's probably working with the feds. Pretty sure. I wonder, and Day 26 too, because remember when Day 26 was crying on that interview with Vlad, and they said they couldn't, certain things they were like, well, we can't talk about that right now, or we can't, they kept saying things, but then saying I can't talk about that part right now. That's because they're working with the feds. All these people are working with the feds. Okay, so back to this woman living with Stevie J. So she describes a time where I guess typically security would come knock on the door when Stevie J was getting summons by Diddy. So Diddy would send somebody to go get him. And at this point, security came, and I think she answered the door. She was standing near in eyesight of the security person. She said they had locked eyes or whatever. And she said not but a few minutes later, I guess Stevie J said, I'll be there in a few. Well, Diddy shows up, knocking on the door, talking about he wants to come in. And she said that Stevie J kind of slipped out and closed the door right behind him. He did not want Diddy to come into the room. And she said because she feels like Diddy would have made them have sex with him. And somehow she escaped that. Now, she did talk about how, I guess he made her terminate the pregnancy. She was upset about it because she said he wasn't careful when they were having sex. So she felt like that must be what you want because you're not using protection, Anyway, she called him a cokehead. She said that's what you do that's what happens when you deal with cokeheads. And the one thing she did say to me that was interesting, she said that Stevie J asked her, if I went to jail or prison, would you hold me down? Would you leave me or would you stick by my side? And I thought that was an interesting thing for her to say. He asked her because it sounds like to me that he sees this in his future. Okay. I don't think he's cooperating, or at least he wasn't at the time. And he's probably so deep into it, he's probably can't escape charges. I don't know. Bentley Farnsworth ran around holding pufferfish umbrella like a fool. He did. And I think he was also getting abused at the same time. Okay, let's see what else they got in this thing. Okay, so we already talked about how the enterprise basically is protecting Combs. If somebody's out of line with him, if Combs don't handle him, the enterprise people will. Whether it has to do with his reputation, if his reputation is threatened, his authority is threatened, they're going to come in and save the day. Now, with regard to the racketeering, they're saying that the defendant and others known and unknown being persons employed by and associated with Combs Enterprise, described in paragraph 6 through 12 of this indictment, an enterprise engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States, to wit, Title 18 and Section whoop-de-whoop. That is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs Enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity as that term is defined in Title 18. So that has to do with kidnapping. We're talking multiple acts. We're talking multiple acts involving arson. So it's not just the Kid Cudi thing, apparently. Multiple acts involving bribery. Multiple acts indictable under Title 18 related to tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. Multiple acts indictable relating to forced labor. Acts relating to as trafficking. Multiple acts relating to transportation and inducement to travel for purposes of prostitution and other illegal activities, as well as, here we go. Multiple offenses involving the possession with intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including Coca-Cola, oxycodone, alprazolam, methamphetamine. I mean, these names I can't pronounce, but I don't know the street names for this stuff, but bromo, dimethoxypentamine. I feel like in the Lucy episode. What did she say? I can't remember the episode now with the little cough syrup stuff. Gamma, all these things, ketamine, methamphetamine. It's a lot of drugs. And it says, and 846. These are all the codes and sections. 841, all these things. And 846, distribution and possession with intent to distribute and conspiracy to do the same. And you know, that alone carries a lot of time. And okay, conduct affairs of Combs Enterprise. Okay, so at least, okay, so it was a part of the conspiracy that Sean Combs, the defendant, agreed that a conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in the conduct of affairs in the Combs Enterprise. Now, I wonder what that guy Brandon, that white guy, the little young guy that got caught in Miami trying to take a flight, and he's supposed to be the drug mule. Now, they say they let him go and he was able to go to rehab, but we know he's working with them, right? I mean, that's pretty much, I think we all agree. Now, here's the special sentencing factors that they're talking about here. Let's see. Special sentencing factors. Okay. So count 1. Now, these are the further charges of the grand jury. This is count 2, excuse me. Okay, under count 2, the grand jury further charges from at least in or about 2009 and up to including about 2018 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Sean Combs and all his aliases, the defendant, and in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, advertised, maintained, patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion, as described in Title 18, and any combination of such means will be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused the same, to wit, Combs recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained victim 1, and attempted, aided, and abetted, and willfully caused victim 1 to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that victim 1 was engaging in commercial sex acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. So this is the answer to the defense saying, oh, they were just in a complicated relationship. She consented to all that. She loved it, actually. She loved those freak offs. They're saying that this was under that she committed these acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion, and that is a crime. Okay. Now, count 3, the grand jury further alleges, as well as with regard to victim 1, which is Cassie, and commercial sex workers with the intent that they engage in prostitution. So it's saying that the defendant knowingly transported and attempted, aided, and abetted, and all the things. Okay, so these are added charges, counts. Well, these are added to the existing counts. This is language added to the existing counts that the grand jury further charges. It says count 4. This has to do with all this language is so similar, but this is having to do with victim 2. We don't know who is victim 2. Victim 2, the defense says, was another girlfriend who was a complicated relationship. But I'm thinking it's either that Gina Hun person or Wynn or Young Miami is somebody else theorized that. I don't know that is Young Miami, but could be, because Young Miami, the victim 2, they say he deleted text messages between them. And he also, there was a lot of talk about how he was paying this person's bills. And I know that was the case for Gina. And I know Young Miami was getting paid a pretty big salary for dealing with him. So I think hers was more of a PR thing, but I don't know. Let's see. So victim 2, that this person was made to engage in commercial sex acts, knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that victim 2 was engaging in commercial sex acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. And then count 5, finally, the grand jury further charges that this is regarding victim 2 as well, and the fact that victim 2 and commercial sex workers in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in prostitution. So he basically was hoeing out these people, his girlfriends, let them tell it, if they're girlfriends with complicated relationships, he basically turned into prostitutes. They're saying they were coerced to do so, forced to do so as well. So then they go on to talk about the forfeiture allegations. And again, this has to do with the fact that all the claims, any and all interest in securities of, claims against, and property or contractual rights of any kind affording a source of influence over the enterprise named and described, basically just saying any and all property and things constituting and derived from the proceeds obtained from all these crimes, including but not limited to a sum of money representing the amount of proceeds traceable to the commission of said offense. They're going to confiscate all of the related properties, businesses, monies, and they just named the counts related to this. Count 1, counts 2 and 4, counts 3 and 5. And if any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any act or omission of the defendant cannot be located, has been transferred, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty, it is the intent of the United States pursuant to Title 18 to seek forfeiture of any property of the defendant up to the value of the above property. So they're like, try, if you will, to get rid of this property, to hide it, to put it in somebody else's name, take it out of the jurisdiction, whatever you're going to try to do. We're going to find it and we're going to take it. So I actually did go through the whole thing for the most part. And hopefully you got out of it, you know, something that we didn't already know. I know what I got out of it is that he's in some deep doo-doo, deeper than you probably knew. Okay. Juti said apazolum is an anxiolytic, I believe. Anxiolytic. Then there's, the METH. Isn't it the first time that was mentioned? I'm not sure. I think it was mentioned before. I don't think all of those were mentioned though. You said they make you not care as much about stuff. It relaxes you a lot. Oh, I think they're going to bring doctors in to describe the effects of these drugs, from what I understand. So they will very much make clear what the effects of the drugs are and what they, have caused. Or, the girl that went to Tasha K saying Diddy kicked her. Yeah, that's Gina. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Love Queen. Appreciate you too. I appreciate all y'all. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me for this hour and a half. Woo, child. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got to keep up on this. I can't let these things get in the headlines and not break the things down. Now we got to keep up with the times on the Diddy stuff. But I guess that's going to be it for today. But I appreciate everybody who hung out and everybody in the replay, the bushes, whatnot. Enjoy your weekend, your Friday. Woohoo! Friday, child. Friday. So happy it's Friday. Make sure to go visit the Nosey Goddess, Nozey Goddess. I am uploading over there like a beast. And I guess until next time, much love, peace, and all that. Bye.